When our Clive left this world nearly 2 years ago, this was the ultimate knock that would blow the wind out of Mum's sails and would see her petals fall to the ground. She struggled to find the sun for a little while, and her heart felt unrepairable. Mum still had hope though. She hoped that she would taste happiness somewhere before her life was over. She was no longer at anyone's beck and call, and she had no one to care for. And while this opened up a huge sense of freedom, it was also a massive void that was really difficult to swallow. All of a sudden, her body could take a breather. It paused. But she had had to suppress so much of her own feeling and emotion over these years in order to survive, which we do as humans, and in order to step up and care for the next person. That this bout of grief on Clive's passing, on top of everything else that she had harboured for a lifetime, was the ultimate tipping point. And later her body was diagnosed with motor neuron disease. For a while, her skies cried and crumbled around her. She struggled to find that glimpse of light. Though just as she'd previously done through the rest of her life, she started to embrace what was happening here and now. She let go of her grasp of what was, and her roots reached out to find yet another new normal. Clive's courage through his illness was Mum's source of inspiration. There was no way she would let this disease beat her, even though she knew there was no cure. Her determination, and in this case useful stubbornness, moved through her. It was like a second wind that kicked in, because every day that she was able to wake up, even though she was heavily grieving, this filled her with sincere gratitude. She still had some living to do, and she wouldn't let her circumstances get in the way for finding the happiness that she strived for. She challenged this disease every moment of every single day. She surprised all of her care and medical teams. She was on not any medication at all, apart from her sound therapy with rage. And this time last year, she even made it back from New Zealand on her own on the plane. It helped that she sat next to a young hot doctor. And then the twins took her to Spain not long after. And again, everywhere she went, she'd get chatted up by the young, hot locals, which she adored. And she had no words, just a little tap on her cheek for where they might plant their kiss. We shared a beautiful summer together. We made the most of our family, our surroundings. We got out and did everything we could. And we pushed the limits of what this M&D tried to put on her. So we have another speaker now, one of Mum's most favourite and special people in her life. And this is Miss Lola Ray, her granddaughter.
Nana, I miss you, and I loved it when we spent time together. And I love you and thank you for saving me sweets and teaching me lovely manners and letting me into your heart. Love you forever.
And now we have another very special person in Mum's life, our surrogate one, our wild and crazy one, Ronnie.
Follow that. missing a couple of months ago. It was just said that when I used to stay to look after the boys when they were when they were little. One night the boys came in, the twins came in a bit later than they should have done. And when I took them to school the next day, I said to them, so when I come to pick you up, because if you're ever late again in the evening, when I come to pick you up from school, I will sing very loud. And one of the twins said, she'll do it, she'll do it. You better get it on time. She'll do it. So I said to Jem a couple of weeks ago, when I could no longer phone Jude, because she lost the power of speech, I want to write her a letter. I didn't get round to doing it. So Jem said, write the letter and read it. As much as I tried, it just kept coming out as a poem. And I thought, for goodness sake. So what is it with poems today? Okay. 25 years of fun, tears and laughter, endless phone calls where we'd natter and natter, car boot sales and charity shops, leisurely lunch and coffee pots. I'd look after your brood for weekends so you and Clyde could go away. You'd be horrified when they'd recited my RAF song, and you told them, don't repeat anything you hear her say. We've been there for each other through thick and thin, through all our ups and downs. We'd meet up, put the world right, and we'd soon be rid of our frowns. Then came the day when I could no longer phone you because your beautiful voice was taken. I wanted to put pen to paper to tell you how my heart was breaking. And then one day an angel came because a cure was not to be. She gently closed your tired eyes and whispered, come home with me. Rest in peace, Jude.
And now I invite Dave and Maureen to come up. Dave and Maureen or Dave? No. Just Dave. Okay, just Dave. Okay. And Dave used to play in the band with my dad.
Hi there. I was she married my best friend. I was jealous. But I was a best man, well, his best man at the wedding. I knew Judi from 1964 until she came down to Minehead, and then our paths sort of parted. But she was the girl about town. She was manageress of a fashion house, Van Allen, which is sort of like Topshop, you know, and in the centre of Oxford. And everybody knew her. Very fashionable. That was one of her things. Always wore the shortest skirt. And I couldn't work out how she had so many clothes because she was always in a different blouse. Then I realised that she took them back the following day and put them on the hanger. We had many holidays together, the four of us. We went to, when money was short, we went down to Exmouth, to Sandy Bay, into Trevor's dad's uncle's caravan, and my mum and dad's tent. I remember coming back to the tent one day, and we were right on the top of the cliff, and I heard this screaming, and I went in, and Judi was saying, oh, no, over there. So Trevor said, I'll go and sort it out. So we went and, oh no, he said, you go. There was a crab about this big crawling around inside the tent. I don't know how we got there. I think as we were youngsters, perhaps we'd made too much noise the night before. So they thought they'd get us back. And another trip, we went to Jersey. We went to Jersey. Went down in their old van to Portsmouth to get on the ferry, and we're coming back from Portsmouth, and it was duty free in those days, and so you always had to try and get a bit extra, didn't you? So instead of having the 1 litre bottles, it was 1.5 litre bottles. So we thought, well, the person that's going to get away with this is Judi, so we put them in her case. So we're going through the customs, we get through, the only person that gets stopped is Judy. And they had to pay extra tax for this extra litre of whiskey. But she was the most upset because when she got in the van, she said, "Oh, I'm really upset. Not about paying the duty, but these blokes going through her dirty knickers." And so she always loved her dog. She had I think the one I remember is Blue, and so we used to live across the other side of the golf links to where they lived, and so we used to walk our dogs over, and then Sunday lunch times we'd spend walking, and then end up in the pub for lunch. And another time we went away to Mallorca, and of course sunbathing was quite a good one of her favourite hobbies. So, I think it was right up until the end, wasn't it? She loved it. She loved the sun, and so that's why we got the sunflowers. I can see that. But your dad, he was. I remember the first time we went. He'd been told that he could put olive oil on. That's olive oil, but that was more like cooking him. And he ended up for the second part of the holiday sunbathing with his shoe on his chest because he'd been burnt raw. And then another time we went to the Costa Brava, and we had a trip in the car and drove up into the mountains, and Mum made friends. Your mum, Judy, made friends, of course, with everybody else that was there. There was some German tourists and some Spaniards, and we ended up drinking sangria out of a big plastic bucket, stirring it with a stick. So, we also had a rubber dinghy, a boat, which we went on the Thames. I hadn't realised their interest in boats had carried on down here. Anyway, when I was the guitarist in the band, when Dad was the drummer, and so the girls always used to be dancing in front of us. So I thought I'd sing you one of the songs that she used to dance to, and as Gemma said, you can sing along with the words. You'll probably know them better than I do because I had to relearn this yesterday, and I've got the words written out. So if that's all right, Paul, can I use your guitar?
Dreaming